Welcome to the Middle East Teaching and Learning Conference 2020. My name is Manal Zeineddine. I am a global education consultant. I have been in the field of education for 20 years, 11 of which as a director. I have interacted with K-12 learners throughout all of these years within the American, British, and systems of education, and recently the German one, working on strategic planning, pedagogy, data analysis, curriculum design, character education, STEM, sustainability, whole brain teaching and learning, and many others. I have also designed robust personal and professional development for teachers and leaders, achieving a very healthy climate and culture within the organizations I have worked in. As a consultant now, I work on quality education plans that are research-based and holistic. I am the founder of Orbitz Development Code, an interdisciplinary approach that fosters conscious leaders and communities. I would like to start this presentation from the platform of the Middle East Conference to address all the teachers all around the world and express my deep gratitude for their courage and resilience. They have been at the front lines from the very beginning, doing their best to reach all of their students. I am also delighted to say that there is a Q&A section on the app. Please feel free to ask the questions you have, and I will be ready to answer your questions at the end of the session. Every journey has a path and a trigger that does not fully unfold at the beginning. However, as we observe those children with a warm and loving heart, and as we record our observations with a keen eye at all the details, and as we act accordingly with unbiased intention, then we realize that we as educators have a major role, which is fostering potential. And this has been actually the scenario for that most educators all around the world have long adopted, and it is a very simple, regular, easy, familiar scenario. However, with the surge of COVID-19, that unfolding was dramatic. It has tremendously affected three quintessential fields, that of health, economy, and education. And what is even more dramatic is that these fields are interrelated. No educational organization can function properly while disregarding the health factor, and similarly, no educational organization can function properly while disregarding the economic factor. So I think the label that most of the organizations use to describe the situation we are in is the VUCA world: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So there is a lack of stability, there is a lack of certainty and clarity. There is a multifaceted global situation, and there is also a situation that has no precedence. It's the first time that we are encountering such a situation. So as educators, I think that was also the way we have seen in the past few months. So for us in the GCC countries, February was the last month when we witnessed schools in that old normal school concept. I remember very well when I was in one of the schools that month for a school evaluation, and parents were dropping their children in the morning and heading to work. Teachers were arriving to their workplace with wide smiles as they greeted their colleagues. Many of them shook hands, setting the tone for the day. And then children would also come, so excitedly walk to their peers in the playground. So that was such a fabulous scene. A while after, they all gathered for the morning assembly, and the speeches, the morning routine, the morning exercise. It was so comforting to see all that. Leaders and other staff members were also there walking around the campus, also shaking hands, and sometimes coming together for a quick morning discussion, shoulders touching. That was absolutely normal and okay. Classrooms were bustling with learners and teachers as they used the smart boards, their content material. They did peer work and group work, and they exchanged their material, their textbooks, their notebooks, and their papers. And that was absolutely normal and okay too. This is a very simple image of the past, but suddenly those playgrounds were desolate and those classrooms were empty. Human physical contact was strictly prohibited, and the only medium was the internet and the screen, so for teaching, learning, and assessment. Delving into a few details from this past as we move forward into the present, what we have been trying to do was to find alternatives for the old normal school practices and tools, and that was relatively easy. We were trying to connect teachers with students through the screens, through the internet. Teachers were teaching their students, giving them assignments, and conducting also assessments. However, on a deeper level, it is much more complicated because this involves humans, and humans are not only brains uploading and downloading information. With humans, humans are governed by a multiple array of factors, which are the social emotional ones that shape their growth. And at this stage, we stop and reflect. What are the elements that have to be urgently handled, and how can we find pragmatic solutions for these in order to address these problems? How can we ensure the proper implementation and enactment of those solutions? And the last very important one, how can we evaluate the practices and the outcomes? So just like educators, educational authorities, leaders, and consultants, I have been providing resources that can help institutions and individuals navigate through these turbulent times so that we can make the transition into the digital learning less stringent. I have used Orbitz approach to navigate through this process, and which I will be sharing with you later through this keynote. To represent this with more clarity, we can look at two triangles having a one-side meeting line. So we have curriculum and assessment on the one side, and we have services and considerations on the other. And of course, we have that one-side meeting line in the middle, instruction and tools. Now, looking first at curriculum. Curriculum is, we can simply describe it with those 180 days recommended for teaching and learning in order to satisfy curriculum policy mandates. But that is far from achievement considering the online learning modes and the pandemic repercussions. So in this context, we ask two main questions. Can we afford more achievement gaps and learning losses? Surely not. Then what can we do to build bridges so that we can connect what was lost to what is expected of us in the year 2021? So, and the question number two is utterly not an easy question to answer. So here we speak about feedback loops. These are complex feedback processes that are conducted by all stakeholders to collect information throughout all the observations that they make about their practices, act according to those findings, and move forward in well-structured plans towards a kind of an effective solution. So positive feedback loops add up to the variables and add up to the positive practices that we are conducting, whereas negative feedback loops regulate these processes so that all the disturbing factors and variables are taken out. In other words, we are selecting only the efficient ones. What we need to do actually is to explicitly and implicitly use sturdy building blocks to build this bridge. And this bridge has to be sturdy and rigid so that it can stand against all the repercussions. And we mean by that the limitations or the constraints of digital learning, lack of digital resources in many schools around the world, a lack of professional development for teachers for these within these online learning communities, also learners with difficulties and special education learners and so on. So teachers and leaders can come together in networks by grade level or subject level and study all the standards and then work together to select what is necessary, what serves the learning outcomes expected. So here we are speaking about a process to reshape our standards. 21st century skills should be prioritized. Problem solving, critical thinking, real world mathematics, real world languages, real world sciences, project-based learning, task-based learning, what else? STEM. So these all involve building skill sets. We are also adding skill sets of communication, collaboration, and the like. So what we are basically doing is that we are not striving to cover that standard. We are helping learners to build up those skill sets needed for the future through these standards, and this is crucial. So this context poses on us a new perspective for assessment. Now this is important because the time is limited and it is not wise to waste our time administering assessments and tests. So here two substantial points arise. Number one, the need to connect the redesigned standards to a pragmatic form of assessment, which I simply describe as checking for understanding. We have been using the term for a long time, and it's a very simple term to use with teachers. So this is formative assessment. This is qualitative assessment, assessment for learning that we use to pave the way for our next steps in teaching and consequently effective learning. And number two, preparation of standardized tests. We all know that this is a requirement, but this can also be done with the same methods. So coming to the second triangle, which is services and considerations, we start first with the considerations. The pandemic has added to our existing variables that schools have long been handling. So it is crucial for us now for us as an educational community to take few points into consideration. Number one, comparing one school to another is putting the community under lots of pressures. We all know that not all schools are well equipped with the modern digital infrastructure needed. And number two is the low income societies. And these societies, they ought to employ all types of media and content delivery, not only the internet based. I mean by that those non-internet tech products. In so many countries, such as in South America, they have used the instructional radio or TV, which was very helpful, along with text messages to be able to reach all learners. And the third point is low income societies, economic stricken conditions. We all know that there is a high rate of unemployment. So many parents are unemployed at this stage. So I think also schools, institutions have to take this point into consideration so that they do not add more pressures on the parents. Now, there are also services that are indispensable in such a context, because we are now talking about blended learning, fully online, or phased-in learning. It all incorporates digital resources. So in this case, we have to consider that all those learning losses must be addressed. So learning support teams, for example, can be allocated in order to help learners with difficulties at least catch up what they have missed. Regular individual communication with parents through emails and surveys. And here, what we mean by regular is that it is a consistent practice, so that there is a continuous open line of communication between the school and the parents. The surveys must be really well administered, so that all the items are properly studied and properly analyzed, and that's part also of the accountability that we will be speaking about at a later stage. Mental health coaches, who are direly needed in such a situation in the aftermath of lockdowns. That has been a major issue all over the world, and even schools have to address it directly. IT coaches and blended instruction coaches, this is a necessity at this stage, because the medium of teaching is the online medium. So we cannot guarantee that all teachers are well equipped with the skills, and needless to say, the digital resources are developing and evolving, so teachers have to be updated with the most modern innovations. So here we arrive at a common line between the two triangles, instructions and tools. And these two are the two sides of the same coin, actually. This common bottom line is that we have, or that there is a need to investigate the performance of our learners at this stage. We have to boldly stand right in front of our losses, and that happened during last semester and the long summer vacation. So we have to start redesigning our lessons accordingly, and the delivery medium that has been imposed upon us, which is the online learning, has to be fluid enough to contain our needs. As we all know, fluid means it can take the shape of the container. In this matter, platforms have to be selected and diversified in order to meet our needs and our expected gains, and this is very crucial. In other words, what guides is not the platform. What guides is the need. All our needs for our learners. As long as we do not, allocate our needs, then the delivery medium that we choose will not be effective. Consequently, a one-size-fits-all mode of teaching and learning will utterly not work. This is so important, and here personalization steps in. So personalized learning is mandatory in order to succumb those losses. If our staff is not well equipped with the skills to do that, then we can resort to a digital medium or digital platform that can help with this process. Needless to say, there is a wide array of digital solutions for personalized learning, such as IB Ready, My On, and many others. So, summing it all up, it brings me to the way I have presented it in one of my resources that I send in my newsletters, which I called Focus Synergy. So these 5s are smart understanding of the situation of the country or the region, stakeholders, collaboration, feedback loops, highly effective teachers, high-tier teachers, and flexibility. So combining all these together brings us to a more defined path. And through this interdisciplinary approach, we can reach what I call focused urgencies, and so that we can, as much as possible, attend to more detailed theme. So Those focus urgencies are accountability, academic achievements and losses, alignment, inclusion, and home cooperation. So what is even more important is how to assess these focus urgencies, so that we know what areas are we covering and how much progress we are making. So I'm going to share with you checkpoints regarding each focus urgency. And when we will start with checkpoint 1, which is accountability. Accountability by definition is the responsibility that we show in terms of behavior, action, performance, even image and decisions. So it designates the areas that leaders and institutions might think that they are not seen by others, and that's very important. So these questions that I will be sharing can assist in assessing accountability on different levels. So are we conducting small and large scale meetings to listen and address all the points of concern? Are we expressing our viewpoints and agreeing on the decisions? Are we collaborating with the out of school community? Are we open to suggestions from outside our school community? Are we communicating and discussing with teachers, learners, and parents? Are we guiding them to monitor children for online bullying and harassment? Are we handling mental health issues of all the stakeholders? Checkpoint 2, academic achievements and losses. Are we coming together daily as leaders, weekly as educators to work in committees? Are we aggregating information to determine academic achievement and losses? Are we incorporating programs that help us locate areas of strength and weaknesses? Are we allocating support groups to help? Are we suggesting tutoring? And in this case, we don't mean asking parents to pay, but some schools usually arrange some kind of tutoring activities. Are we celebrating successes? And checkpoint 3, alignment. Are we using rubrics? Are we using surveys and questionnaires? Are we using guidelines, memos, and letters to emphasize our school statement and curriculum standards? Are we focusing on the essential objectives and skills? Are we mapping curriculum so that it suits this new normal? And are we individualizing learning so that we can reach all our learners? And checkpoint number 4, inclusion. Are we checking with carefulness the name lists for the yearly performance and their socioeconomic status? Are we enlisting the focus points regarding these students? Are we analyzing the way children process information? Are we working on social emotional factors? Are we addressing learners with difficulties and the like? Are we considering learners in distant and less developed areas? Because this is very important. And checkpoint number 5, home cooperation. So are we facilitating those, are we focusing on helping parents understand the situations we are in? Are we providing virtual support to parents? Because parents do need some guidelines when it comes also to using digital resources. Are we acknowledging the challenges the parents or guardians are facing? What steps are we taking to assist vulnerable learners whose health issues forbid them from going to schools? Are we varying material to be used at home? So that has been a quick view of those checkpoints. They are very helpful. They are available on my website. I would like to herein advise schools to handle any situation they encounter with what I call Orbitz development code. Now, this is an approach that I have developed over the course of the years that pulls together all those elements and all those variables within the web of a school. So, and in this global situation, I think we can refer to it at a macro level to address and encompass all those overarching factors. I usually work through it at a micro level, personalized for schools, but today I am sharing it with you. You can also find it on my website. Own Your Way raise your standards, believe in your assets, integrate your mind and positive emotion, tailor to your needs and aspirations, spot and solve your problems practically. That is a very helpful approach in handling all those overarching factors. It centralizes pedagogical and management practices as well. I would like to end up this presentation with the 3 L's. I think what we have learned and what we can do in the coming months, we really need to work on leadership, leading ourselves first. So principals have to be leaders, teachers have to be leaders, learners have to be leaders as well. The structure of the schools and organizations have to change in a way that we give ownership to the teachers and the learners for whatever they are doing, and we all know that they are doing their best. So I think that is going to be a very important breakthrough in education, thanks to COVID-19, when we truly look at those areas that we can really achieve the most from without the pressures and the burdens that we are used to. I would like to thank you for your listening to this presentation, and I am very excited to answer your questions at the end of the session. Thank you, and I really extend my wishes throughout this platform for a calm, successful year in as much possibility as we can. Thank you very much.